Stellenbosch University. She is also a trauma and transplant surgeon at the Christian Barnard Memorial Hospital in the city of Cape Town, Western Cape, South Africa. She is no other than Dr. Elmin Styne. And to give his reaction on the lecture of Dr. Styne is the Director of Trauma Center at the University of Hong Kong, Shenzhen Hospital in Guangdong, China. No other than Dr. Guxi Zhang.
So thank you so much for inviting me. Really, it's a privilege and an honor to be a speaker. And it is a little bit of a sentimental topic. As usual, I think that the congratulations are in order. 10 years, and not only the organization and the fact that you brought everybody together in the Asian collaboration, but also the way that your meetings and the topics have always been extremely innovative and lively. So, and you've also managed to bring together the most diverse and engaging speakers. I must commend the organizers on that. Always very professionally chaired and very expertly coordinated. And of course, most importantly, all of these discussions, all of these topics have significant international relevance. So it's not only for the Asians that it's important to engage in your regular webinars, but also for the rest of the world. And by that, I also want to say that it doesn't matter what kind of resources we have. I think most of us have some challenges in our resources, and most countries, especially when it comes to Asia and Africa, have significant resource challenges, and therefore there's a lot of value in collaborating. So I think that international collaborations are based on some very basic fundamentals. And those are the principles that, although resources may be diverse, our challenges are similar. And although some countries may have some resources in some areas of their country, most countries, even those in the first world with incredible resources and equipment and fantastic facilities, have areas where they are not as well organized and not as well resourced. So we all know that disasters happen, and that challenges even the best of countries. But in terms of collaboration, there's this amazing willingness to share knowledge and skill that truly makes a difference to all of us. And I think that with that comes the formation of networks and friendships that span continents. And that is perhaps even the most valuable part of it. So keeping in mind that I've met many of you and I've truly enjoyed your warm hospitality and long-term friendships, I'm going to speak a little bit about why it's important to be collaborating and to continue to collaborate, and especially the collaboration between Africa and Asia. Now, this is a map that indicates, it's rather based on environmental threats, but it indicates health and injury-related threats in Africa and Asia. And you can see that Africa is very pink and very, which means that there's a significantly high risk of injury and healthcare risks, and the same for Asia. So we are both in the same boat when it comes to the risks. And these risks are multiple. I think we can all agree that with climate change, there's a lot of environmental issues that affect all continents at the moment. But the important thing to remember is that it's not only the environmental disaster, it's also the interplay of the social and political and environmental factors that affect the response to disaster. And I must say, I was so impressed with Dr. Ramos's talk and the extent of training and preparation for disasters. It's truly an example for all of us. And that is what makes the difference. We are all going to face disasters from time to time. but there are many other factors that affect our ability to respond. And when it comes to risks, unfortunately, South Asia is definitely some of the higher risk areas in the world. And ironically, especially when it comes to climate change, it's often the countries that contribute very little to climate change that are most affected by the consequences. And I must say, Africa has its fair share of climate change related issues, but then there's also other threats, and that is related to conflict, war, financial issues, governance issues, and then the desertification, the fact that deserts are increasing in size and people move. This is just an example of how the climate can affect many regions of the world and many issues at the same time. Here was a particularly interesting image which shows some cyclones approaching the US at the same time when there was massive fires. And that is a double whammy facing parts of that country. Certain issues that are really common in both Africa and Asia is what I'm going to mention now. And when you look at traffic and road crash related injuries, this is something that is a significant problem in Africa, but Asia as well has a very high burden of road crash related injuries. And in fact, so high, just the same as for Africa, that it affects the GDP of countries, and it affects the economy and may consume more than 3% of the GDP. In Africa, the same. Figures may be also much the same. Ironically, in Africa, because of growing vehicle ownership and rapid urbanization, we find that the road traffic related fatalities have increased significantly. Although Africa does not have as many vehicles as other continents, the roads are not great. And I think that the behavior of road users is not ideal. But most of all, the ones who suffer most are pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. And I think it's much the same in Asia, where socioeconomic factors make road users more vulnerable, and therefore they are more likely to be injured. And that's where, again, it really creates a significant burden on the country's economic capabilities. As far as conflict's concerned, Africa, again, there's always conflict. In Asia at the moment, there seems to be quite a significant number of countries who have some form of conflict. Just on a quick review, in recent years, Afghanistan, major civil war. India and Pakistan both experience ongoing, maybe not such high intensity issues, but there are armed conflicts from time to time in various areas. And Myanmar, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, all do experience conflict. And at this very moment, Sri Lanka is experiencing tragic civil unrest, and we wish them well. So conflict is never far away from Africa and Asia. And this is just a short or small image of conflict in Africa, but the countries where there's crisis spots at the moment are many. Democratic Republic of the Congo, Somalia, South Sudan, the Yemen, Nigeria, Northern Nigeria especially, Central African Republic's been going on for a while, Libya. So at any given time, there are millions of people who are killed, injured, and millions more who are displaced, which then brings its own risks of injury. And we know then, once again, that with environmental changes, we have many more people who are migrating. And when there's migration, there's more potential for conflict, and there's more physical consequences. So those are the reasons why there's value for us to share knowledge, to share training, and to share experience. And in the process of the past 10 years of training and academic meetings, I've been really privileged to participate in training and especially DSTC, but also NTMC and various other academic opportunities in many countries in Asia. Specifically noting Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, where I've been many times, Sri Lanka, where I've been more than once, and having had the privilege to be in Thailand and South Korea as well. So that has been really a highlight of my career, to meet you, to join you and some really amazing international experts in training courses and conferences all over the world. And DSTC, for example, is very close to my heart. At the moment, I'm the president of IATSIC, and I have the privilege of visiting many countries and being involved in DSTC courses all over the world. And I can tell you that it's much more than training. It provides such a huge opportunity for learning. As an instructor, I've never not learned something. Wherever you go in the world, when you try and teach other people, you probably learn twice as much from them. And that's again where the friendships are built, collaborations, networks, future visitors, future people to invite to conferences. All of that has its core in training. And through offering training to each other all over the world, we really open up a lot of other opportunities. And much of those are forged over dinner, sake, good wine, nice beer, all of these things that we do together and appreciate and enjoy while sharing culture as well. Not only, it's not only work, as we know. These are a few of the people who've played major roles in some of the DST courses, and by no means all. There are so many others, and I have so many photos on my phone that I couldn't possibly share all of them. But I need to mention specifically Professor Ken Boffard, who was one of the primary people involved in not only setting up the DST manual, but also bringing DSTC to many countries in the world. And all of you whom I've met and worked with on DSTC. Specifically, I also need to, just like previous speakers, need to highlight NTMC. And one cannot highlight NTMC without mentioning Professor Ranjit Elawala, who has been so central in bringing in NTMC and many other training opportunities to Sri Lanka. And as we've heard already. NTMC is also, my first contact with NTMC was also in India, in Ahmedabad, with Dr. Manuel Josipura, who set up courses there. And subsequently, I've also been involved in NTMC in Sri Lanka and also in Ethiopia, which was really valuable. But unfortunately, due to current conflict in Ethiopia, we haven't been able to go back and do further training there. And we did train instructors in Ethiopia. So there are many, many people involved, many. I can name a few, but it's just, the names that came to mind immediately. So many amazing people have visited South Africa for many reasons, for training and just for visiting. And so many of us from South Africa, have been privileged to visit your countries and be involved in some training in your countries. There are also some very interesting opportunities for electives, for young surgeons to come to high trauma volume countries, such as ours. Not that we're proud of it, but at least there is some benefit in training. And when we do have international visitors, we truly appreciate their contribution because they also become like volunteer workers and they assist us with the burden of taking care of all our trauma patients. And some interesting publications came from this specifically from Ayaki Ichino, but many others. Dr. Nagao is also in the process of publishing on his elective time in South Africa. And then the visitors have been to many parts of South Africa, specifically Johannesburg, Cape Town, and also Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal, where there's also excellent training opportunities. So my talk is short, colleagues. I am perhaps a little bit more sentimental than all of the other presentations. I truly feel that collaboration is universally valuable. There is no downside to collaboration. It is always interesting. It is always important, and it's always valuable for every side and every person involved. And you know, when we share experiences, we actually are improving trauma care all over the world, because those experiences are then disseminated widely. So that is the value of that can never be underestimated. And I'm talking about courses, about conferences, but also just membership, being members of international organizations and having opportunity to see faces of people you've read or heard about. And that makes everything more real and more valuable. And then what we really encourage is electives and visits, because that truly broadens one's perspective to see how trauma care is done in another country, but not only read about it, but to see it in context. Because we all know that publications will state emphatically, this is how we do it, this is the way to do it, Roboa works, this doesn't work, that works. But we all know that it's different in every country. It's different in every hospital. And it's different for every patient. So many of the things that are true for one side of the world is not true for the other side of the world. And no matter how much we strive to achieve controlling hemorrhage in an injured liver by angioembolization, it will still take 2 or 3 hours to get there, even if we have that resource. So therefore, training people how to pack a liver remains important, even if those resources are available. And mostly they're not available 24 hours out of 24. So things differ. Training and teaching remains. Although medical care and the ability to provide high-tech medical care, for example, varies in countries depending on the specific situation and the system. The training is universal. The things we teach and the context that we place the knowledge that we impart, that is what's important. And there's value for everybody in that. So the future holds many more opportunities. There is hope. COVID may well one day not limit us that much anymore. We will be able to travel again. We will be able to visit each other again. And I'm sure that there will be many more opportunities to learn and grow. And just to remind us, together, we are better at solving the trauma burden of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for Professor's team. I'm Guxi from Shenzhen, China. Yeah, first of all, it's a great opportunity for me to be the director here. I would like to say thanks to IATSIC and Professor Rolando give me the opportunity to be the director. Also, Professor's team, actually Professor's team is my teacher. I went to the DSTC course in Hong Kong many years ago. Yeah, Professor's team, she actually, she's my teacher, teach me. From the talk, actually, we know Professor's team is really excellent, distinguished is a teacher, a mentor, and an excellent expert for training and teaching. So I think all us know about Professor's team for a long time. Professor's team has been the teacher for over nearly 30 countries, teaching a lot of courses, including ATS, DSTC. So that's a great opportunity to meet Professor's team here. So from the also Professor Tim, I noticed you are one of the teachers from Queen Mary University of London. Actually, I finished the course in 2014 to 2016 with Professor Colin Blohy and Professor Susan Brandy. So actually, teacher, my teacher. Thank you. From Professor Tim's talk, that's really very important message from Professor Tim. And the one of things is the resources. That is right. Many countries, even the developed countries, also have some challenges with the resources for trauma care. So, Professor Tim has taught us without the enough resources, how can we take care of the trauma patients? So I think this is a very important topic for us to think and to manage in different countries. How can we do better with the lack of the enough resources? The second point Professor Tim mentioned is share the knowledge, share the skills. I think this is also very, very important because share is to teach to help somebody else. So I think we all learn each other from we all learn things from many other people, and also we need to share some good things with other colleagues. So I think Professor Tim has also mentioned a very important point for us again. And the third aspect is the networks, the friendship. So this is also very important. We all know Professor Tim is the president of International Association for Trauma Surgery and Intensive Care. So I think the networks and the friendship have been excellent example have been showing from Professor Elmin. So I think is the ACT also is the excellent example, because 10 years and the networks and the friendship is also an excellent example for ACT. So I think in the future, collaboration is also the way we need to work together. Actually, in mainland China, I think we don't have enough collaboration with the international society. So I think in the coming future, we need to have more collaboration from mainland China and the society from internationally, such as I helped to introduce the ATS into mainland China with Professor Longmeier and the ACS Chanhong chapter in 2016. And now in Shenzhen is the only ATS training center in my hospital for the whole mainland China. But I think we need to go forward to propagate ATS program as well. For the DSTC, I think when we need to talk about this, I think we need to try to introduce the DSTC into mainland China as well. The fifth book, the DSTC, the manual, was translated by Zhang's team from Beijing, National Center for Trauma Medicine. We have very good relationship. I think maybe we try to find a chance to discuss this later. Anyway, there's the great opportunity here to meet Professor, my teacher, and all the speakers here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.